Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video in Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Zeri supplementary guide, and today we're going to be taking a look at on-hit Zeri. Now, I believe that the on-hit Zeri build is going to be dead when patch 6.2 comes out, since Zeri gets insane crit scaling on, I believe it's her E and her ultimate, if the leaks are correct. So, this build probably is going to be dead, but let's just try it out one last time, and if you guys still want to play it for the remaining few days of the season before the next patch comes out, then there you go. Alright, so first off, we're going to start with the Gluttonous Greaves as usual for the AD and the Omni Vamp. And then, of course, with any on-hit build, you want to start off with the Terminus, with for the attack damage, attack speed, on-hit magic damage, as well as the stacking penetration, stacking resistances. And then going into Ruinous Hurricane, another really strong on-hit item, also allows you to attack 3 targets simultaneously, and with Zeri, allows you to not get blocked by the initial target. Unlike traditional on-hit builds, we're not going for Bork, we're instead going to go for Riftmaker. Now, Riftmaker on Zeri is really good. You get into long fights, you get the Void Corruption passive, and you just deal a lot more damage overall. You also get the On the Vamp, just for more sustain. And then you go into more defensive, because honestly, by this point, you actually do enough damage with your on-hit and with your Conquer, etc. So you're going to go into Twin Guard for the double resistances, as well as going for Maw for more AD as well as more magic resist. Now, if you don't have a lot of AP on the enemy team, you could of course opt into something else like a GA as well. Right. So for the runes, we have Conquer for the stacking AD as well as the Omnivamp. Of course, recently got buffed in patch 6.1 F as well. Then you have Brutal, of course, Giant Slayer, Bloodline here. I don't think you need more attack speed because you are going to overcap with these two items, so I think Bloodline is just more useful. And then Bone Plating. For the spells, Flash and Cleanse. If you don't need Cleanse, go for Ghost. Of course, Barrier and Exhaust is also viable. But with all that said, let's move on to talking about the gameplay. Okay, so let's hop into the gameplay. So as I briefly alluded to a bit earlier in the beginning of the video, Zeri is going to be getting, I guess you could call it quite a big rework in the sense of her Q, W, all of her abilities, to be honest. Although she is kind of losing her passive of stealing shields and getting increased movement speed with shields, right? But essentially, it's going to be a very big update to Zeri. I think it's an overall very huge buff, especially for crit Zeri. And I do think crit Zeri is the better build for Zeri compared to on hit. And you only really build on hit in very situational circumstances. Like most ADCs on hit builds are very situational, like Caitlyn, Jinx and such. Although some ADCs like Ashe do prefer on hit, I do think Riot is trying to bring back crit and nerf on hit off of ADCs, which is why they're buffing crit items so much in the upcoming patch, as well as nerfing some on hit items like the Wit's End as we get into a very early game fight. So you will see that here Mordekaiser gets completely chunked out, and this is really just a rune diff, right? You will see Mordekaiser has Conquer, but he doesn't really stack it up really quickly, whereas Zeri can stack up Conquer very quickly and dish out a lot of DPS. MF has Arcane Comet, which is a pretty strange rune to go for on MF. So MF doesn't have really any kind of DPS with her rune at all. So in a long fight, definitely the Zeri lane is going to win, which is why Mordekaiser gets completely chunked out there. And, yeah, takes a ton of damage. So here, yeah, as I was saying, the on-hit build is very situational. So here in this game, we have Mordekaiser, we have Shyvana, we have Rammus. They're super duper tanky. I'm thinking that on-hit's probably the way to go here, as we are rotating to catch out the Shyvana, forcing her flash. So that means it's probably going to be really tanky, and we need to be able to cut through their defenses. Now, I do still think, of course, crit is okay against tanks, or you can always go for more reminder, and you'll always deal quite a bunch of damage with crit. But I always have a preference, personally, for going on hit when I'm against tanks. So I actually like to go for that route instead if I can, which of course on certain champions you cannot really build on hit. Like I think on hit Draven, for example, is completely troll, right? Draven, no way he builds on hit. So here I'm trying to chase down the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser pops the W though, and Shyvana is not on the rotation. I'm trying to go in for a gank. Now surprisingly, she actually still decides to ult in despite the fact that her team is nowhere near, which did surprise me. I guess Zyra was relatively low, but yeah, she doesn't really get anything. She ults in and just runs away after that because her team is not ready to follow up. So nothing really gained, nothing really lost for myself here. Now the thing is, somehow, some way, MF has 300 gold more than me. We're both 000. She hasn't taken any tower plates. I'm not sure how there's been such a big gold discrepancy. That's definitely a mystery. She doesn't have first strike either, so never really noticed this in the game itself, but I'm only noticing it now on the replay tool as I'm kind of commentating over the gameplay. But that's pretty strange. Well, anyways, we're kind of now just catching up with this wave, so it's not too big of a deal. Mordekaiser is getting a little bit caught. I'm going in with the ulti. He's pretty low. I'm going to flash in, finish the kill. I think he tries to ult Zyra at the last minute, but the ult doesn't actually go off because it was channeling. Now MF getting caught as well. Tries to flash away. Vi is going to ult to follow. And with the help of the Vi, we are able to kill both of the bot laners. Now, there is a second here to grab a little bit of tower plates while the enemy team is respawning. Probably can just get maybe a plate. Trying to go for the second plate, but we ran out of minions, so yeah, maybe try to shove in this wave before we back. Mordekaiser is back here. Ziggs with the ultis, the bomb, and Zyra does survive. She's not low enough to die to a Ziggs bomb, so it's all good. We're now going to get off the reset while Mordekaiser clears the control ward in the river. And we get a BF sword. Now, of course, BF sword is a pretty big pickup. Lots of AD, 40 AD. Which is a ton in the early game. Now here you can see me dashing through the wall to get to lane faster. Now that, I believe, is the longest wall in the game that you can actually dash through. Actually, maybe not, right? Maybe the Dragon Pit or Baron Pit wall is longer, but my point is that, you know, you get a ton of value from dashing through that wall, right? However, the thing to note about dashing through that wall is you're able to reach back to lane a lot faster, which is important in some circumstances. However, something you have to be very cautious about is you don't always want to be dashing through that wall to reach lane faster, because if you use your dash already, it's on a 20-second plus cooldown, right? And by the time you reach lane, you're not gonna have the dash. And if you don't have the dash, what's the point of reaching lane quickly if you can't do anything there? Now, by the way, that was a really weird interaction. Did you see that, by the way? So Mordekaiser ults at me, right? I'm next to a wall. I tried to dash over, but because the Mordekaiser wall is blocking the other side, I actually bounce off the wall back to my starting location. So I essentially waste my dash completely, which is an interaction I didn't know about until this match, right? So in the future, if I'm ever in Mordekaiser ult, or if you guys are ever in Mordekaiser ult, now we know that if you dash, you're gonna knock into the Mordekaiser wall and get kicked back to where you started, which is horrible, but that's the way the interaction works, I guess. So here, once again, we're dashing through the wall to reach the lane faster, and we do this because we know it's safe, because we can see multiple people in the mid lane, and we know there's at most gonna be, you know, maybe the MF here. But yeah, we're just gonna push in. We're not gonna really care about what's happening elsewhere. I say that, but here we see that Zyra's in a little bit of trouble. Here we're trying to get rid of the Mordekaiser. We do get him, and now we're trying to focus down the Rammus. Now Rammus with the Thornmill is doing a ton of damage. Now I'm realizing I'm not going to be getting out. I flash over. MF ult is up again, and Rammus also flashes over. So at least I get two cooldowns. Rammus also ults back over, but Rammus is becoming a bit of an issue, right? My Mordekaiser I can kill. Shyvana I can kill, right? But Rammus with this Thornmill and with the armor boots is really difficult to kill. He's not taking a lot of damage at all. So that's definitely an issue. And I've not yet completed my first item. We're not off to a very good start. We're 1, 2, and 2. Almost 1k gold down on the enemy ADC, which is not uncommon when playing Zeri, right? I always think that Zeri is a decent laner, not really the best, not really the worst, but I do tend to fall behind on Zeri quite often, as you will see from a lot of my Zeri Yuumi videos, you know, and things like that, right? But of course, Zeri doesn't always have to rely on a enchanter support. Of course, it's really nice to have a Yuumi or a Lulu, even a Milio, you know, by your side just to support you, but you know, you always can just play Zeri with a tank, or in this case, we have a mage support in Zyra. So here we finally recall for Terminus, and we're going to head back up to the top lane. This time we're not going to dash through the wall. So you can see that Zyra is kind of gonna get dived under this tower, so we might need the dash for this fight. Here we try to make it over to help her out. We managed to land a W onto the Mordekaiser, who dies to the tower, making it a 1-for-1 support for support trait. Now my jungler is here, so it's ADC jungle duo maybe gonna fight, but we are not gonna actually fight. So nothing actually really ends up happening. In the meanwhile, first tower of the game is picked up by Set, giving us a little bit of additional gold. So here MF is pushing in. I take a little bit of a chunk from the MF there. Honestly, I'm not sure at this point if I can win 1v1 against MF. Right? She has Yomu's double longsword. I have Terminus. And I have Conqueror. So I think in a long fight, I will cleanse her exhaust, and I think I win against her in the long fight. But I'm not completely sure. And also now the supports are back. So no 1v1 for the two of us. Zyra gets pulled in. Vi going for the ulti on the MF. Really weird flash from Mordekaiser straight into the face of the Vi. And Ziggs this time does get the kill onto the Zyra with the ulti. So here we're going to use the Herald to pop the tower. I was trying to get the wave in here, but I'm realizing that maybe focusing the tower might be a better idea. So we do focus on the tower. 200 gold from destroying the tower. Here, and we're 1, 2, and 5, right? So we don't really have kills, but we do have a number of assists. And in terms of gold, we are still doing kind of fine, right? We're almost even in terms of gold with the MF, as well as just in general, we have a decent amount of gold. So we're not like far behind or anything like that, despite the fact that we don't have the best looking KDA. Now, of course, we're going to continue on farming. The next dragon is going to be spawning really soon. You can see Mordekaiser is kind of making his way there, as well as MF is already in the area. My team, though, is not in the area. We have Zyra and Yasuo dealing with the Rammus in the bottom side of the map. Enemy team decides to push mid while my whole team is distracted, which definitely makes sense. And then they're going to rotate over to the dragon. Now here I was trying to clear out the mid wave so we don't lose minions to the tower, but Set was already kind of doing that, so maybe I should have just gone to the dragon. Enemy team's now pushing in the top lane though. And this gives us the position on the dragon, but we don't really have the manpower to really do anything here. Zyra is now making her way here. Yasuo is also on the way. Enemy team is just going for the top lane tower at this point, which we cannot really stop. Now Vi goes in with the Q flash onto the MF. We follow up with the ulti, we burst down the MF. MF is down. Now Shyvana is on top of my head. I'm flashing away. Now this is very, very awkward here, right? So here I'm trying to kite away. I dash the wall to escape the Shyvana, but at that point Shyvana happened to flash that same wall. So now I end up right next to the Shyvana once again. And as a result, I end up dying, which that has to be one of the most awkward situations I've ever found myself in. Like, I was running back towards safety, and then I realized that running in the opposite direction is a better idea. And then I dash over the wall, but Shyvana flashes the wall at the same time, and yeah, we end up meeting on the other side of the wall with both of us using our dashes slash flashes to get over the wall, and I end up just getting whacked by Shyvana on the head, and I do end up just dying. Yeah, that was, I would like to say that's pretty unlucky. Like, I did not think that would happen, obviously, but it did, so it is what it is. So next up, we have our Runans completed, so 2 items now, getting stronger and stronger. Fight breaks out in the topside river. It looks like it's going to be a party. Myself and Vi trying to make it there as quickly as we can. MF as well. Now here I'm hopping over the wall, focusing the Shyvana, who's the closest target. I do have my ult up here, so I'm going to pop the ulti. You're going to start blasting people. We get 2 kills already. We're kiting away, but now I realize I'm killing myself on Rammus. So I'm instead dashing over the wall, picking up the fruit here. And I'm just going to hightail it out of there because I realize we're not going to be winning this fight. Slowing the Rammus with the W, so there's no chance he catches up. MF as well trying to catch up. Tanks a tower shot, but isn't going to catch up either. And we're going to just walk back to the base and restore our health. Right as my team is now beginning to respawn one by one, Ziggs is going for the mid lane tower. He's probably going to get it. Mistimes the W though, so he's not going to get it. We get the slow onto him with the W. Yasuo is now on the chase. Yasuo gets the kill onto Ziggs. Rammus now is getting whacked by myself and Yasuo, but with that Thornmail and Fear, what's the crown item? Fury Crown or something? I forgot what that's called, but Searing Crown, I think it's called. Yeah. From that, from that, it's really difficult to kill him, right? He's not going for a wit's end next, right? So looks like another fight could break out in mid lane. A lot of people walking around the area. Shyvana getting a decent amount of poke. Getting poked a decent amount, I guess, is a better way to say. Rammus now here gets caught a little bit, but I don't know if we are really catching Rammus, because Rammus is a really tanky boy. It's not so easy to kill him. Now here, I'm untouched in the backline, but I'm also not really hitting people very much. See, I'm going in with the ulti. I'm just blasting the first target, which is Shyvana. I'm really trying to kill somebody. They're all so low. I flash forward. They're all so low. I'm trying to just kill somebody, anybody. And no one is really... I mean, people are dying, but Shyvana is making out on 1 HP. Ziggs making out on 1 HP as well. And that is pretty infuriating. But here, at the end of the day, it's a 2-for-3 trade in favor of my team. And the game is very even, right? We have 1 dragon apiece, equal amount of towers, equal amount of gold, and it's a very, very even game. So the next fight or two maybe is might determine the game. Is going to be very, very important for the fate of the game. We're really close to getting a Riftmaker. And we're really trying to find the farm to be able to complete our Riftmaker. Of course, it's going to be a very, very big 3-item spike for us. So here I'm trying to just farm up this mid lane. Set also is trying to farm up this mid lane. Farm up that ward as well, apparently. So now instead we're going to go to the top lane. Guess who's at the top lane when we go to the top lane? It's Set. But here we're trying to get as much of the farm as we can before he shows up. We should get all of them except for that last minion, so I guess it's not too bad. Fight breaks out in the mid lane. I'm going to recall to get my Riftmaker. And at the cost of Zyra's life, apparently. Not that I would have reached there in time anyways. But now with the 3 items, I'm going to run over as quickly as I can. We can see Shyvana is on the Baron. She ulted into the Baron pit and is soloing the Baron currently. But we can't really just walk straight there, right? So we are trying to find an opportunity to go in. Here you can see we get a huge ult. We get a kill, another kill. We're trying to focus on the Ziggs. We get a triple, I think. And here, I'm trying my best. I believe, yeah, I believe we are able to put in a lot of work and basically kill almost the entire enemy team. But we do end up dying to Shyvana at the very end. Now, the good news is that we actually stopped the enemy Baron take. And Shyvana is probably going to go for the Dragon now, which is fine because it's not sold for either side. And the enemy team does not take the Baron, which is, of course, the bigger objective. More important one to get, right? Now, at this point, if you look at my goal, I'm now the second most goal in the game, only behind Shyvana. I'm definitely in a very good spot, right? Now, here Zyra is poking down the Shyvana while Shyvana is doing the Dragon. Obviously, there's no real chance of Zyra getting the Dragon unless Shyvana messes up the smite. However, we can get this free damage onto Shyvana. Shyvana is just getting poked down by Zyra in the long run. Now, the team is now there to help. And here you can see I have a choice, right? I can either go to top and help with the fight or go down to bot and clear up this wave. This wave is going to take this tower if it's not cleared. And it's also going to, a lot of gold also going to get wasted if it's not taken. So here I decide to push out just that wave and then I'm going to Hex Gate up and see if I'm able to help out in the fight, right? Although enemy team can definitely see this, so they may or may not want to continue the fight. Now the fight is pretty much over, so instead now I'm going to end up farming the top wave. Now the mini issue with this is that now the bot wave is still pushing in, right? Because I wasn't able to actually push it out fully, right? So as a result, that bot wave is now still pushing. You can see Ziggs now is there in the bot lane trying to push in that bot wave and go for that tier 2. Now I guess I could walk all the way back there to stop him, but I'm honestly a little bit too far at this point. I'm just gonna go and push top instead. Of course, I'm very unlikely to get this top lane tier 2. In fact, there's no chance I'm gonna get this top lane tier 2. But instead, I'm just gonna do what I can. Here, Rammus is in here. I'm going to have to cleanse and hop over the wall because I'm not. The reason why I'm kind of afraid here is I don't actually know if anyone is behind Rammus, and furthermore, I don't actually think I kill Rammus 1v1, even with the items that I have right now. So here I actually decide to go for Maw before going for Twin Guard. And the reason I'm doing that is because obviously Ziggs is a huge AP damage threat. So is Mordekaiser, who's building full damage. Now Rammus also, the damage he reflects is also reflected as magic damage. So Rammus is actually also a pretty decent magic damage source, right? So a lot of magic damage sources on the enemy team. So I think it's a very good idea to get an earlier Maw. Like you can see here, I'm basically killing myself on Rammus. Like I'm taking as much damage as I dish out to the Rammus, which is really not good. Shyvana now coming in. Zig's bomb. I'm just gonna hop over the tower stump there to avoid it. Now I'm trying to reach back to the fight. Shyvana is getting focused on by Yasuo, goes down eventually to the Zyra. And only Ziggs and Rammus are left alive. So here we're gonna start off the Baron. And all we gotta do is prevent Ziggs or Rammus from stealing it, which shouldn't be too hard because we have a jungler. Ziggs bomb does do a lot of damage though, so we have to kind of... I'm focusing the Baron, but I'm looking for opportunity to go in on Ziggs. Right? I'm waiting for him to misstep, to walk too close, and just finding opportunity to dash in onto him and kill him. So here's the opportunity. He just gets so close. I'm just gonna one-shot him, and then we're gonna secure the Baron. And we also get both of the kills. And now Elder is up. So now Zyra is going to go bot to defend the inhibitor, which now has accumulated a huge proportion of minions. And myself and Vi are going to rush all the way to the Elder Dragon. And this time it's going to be a 5v3. Of course, we just killed 2 people over at the Baron. So of course, we're going to ward over the wall. The ward does get destroyed though. Now, obviously, expected is that Shyvana is going to jump in and try to steal it. So it's our job to either kill her or make sure she doesn't get the steal. Set is going in. And here, the enemy team is getting corralled towards us. So Shyvana decides to just jump into the pit. And here I'm trying to focus the Shyvana. But the Elder Dragon is kind of blocking me from focusing the Shyvana. So I'm kind of forced to focus the Elder while my Runan's bolts hit Shyvana. And Shyvana eventually gets the smite off and basically steals the Elder Dragon from my team. I believe only Shyvana has it. I'm not sure if Ziggs and Rammus have it. I don't think so. But you can see, yeah, there's no Elder around Ziggs. So I think only Shyvana has it. Now, the reason why this Elder bar is showing up is because it's just an indicator, just in case Shyvana just comes in and launches a spell and then you get executed. So here I get Maw Mordius, which is, of course, a very important purchase. And, yeah, now we are going to just go back, farm it up while our team is also busy resetting. You can see all of my team is basically going back to the base. And we're just going to take this opportunity to just find some farm whilst, everyone is kind of just walking back out. So now we're going to group up with the team so that if they get into a fight, which they look like they are with Shyvana ulting in there, we're ready to back them up. Here we're blasting Shyvana from the backline. MF ult doesn't even touch us. Dashing away from the Ram. Is going to pop the ulti just for the additional movement speed and the damage. Just whacking them down. I'm trying to dash forward. I'm trying to kill the Ram. I'm trying to kill anybody. I flash forward. Rammus lives on 1 HP. Ziggs pops the stopwatch. Or the Zhonya's, I should say. And yeah, here everybody's 1 HP again, and I end up dying to a Ziggs bomb. That is infuriating. We have 1 HP Ziggs, 1 HP Rammus, 1 HP MF, all of them survive, and I end up dying. Wow. Rammus now rolling in on Yasuo. Rammus in trouble. Yasuo looks like he finally has the damage to kill with the help of the Zyra. And escapes with the Zyra, both of them on 1 HP as well. So I guess what goes around comes around. We both survive on 1 HP. Both sides, I should say, survive on 1 HP. Now here Set is trying to go in. He's gotten a kill already. He's just trying to buy time. And he does buy quite a bit of time, right? The minions are probably going to take the enemy tier 2. There we go. And the enemy team has to kind of deal with all of these minions that are just flooding into their side lanes, because we've done a very good job of pushing out the side lanes after that initial issue with the side lanes being pushed in a couple of minutes ago. And now the Baron is coming back up again. Now Rammus and Misfortune are dead. Of course Shyvana is coming to the Baron, right? We still have a pretty big numbers advantage with not big, but we have a 4v3 numbers advantage. Getting down wards into the enemy jungle just to spot them out. Mordekaiser is not here. Ziggs lands a lot of huge poke, right? Me and Zyra are just getting destroyed. Zyra nearly dies there. And now it's a little bit of a problem, right? Because Ziggs has done such a good job with the poke that now we're on the back foot. Shyvana's now running in. I want to get the fruit, but Zyra needs it way more than me. So I'm going to have to just stay here. I'm just launching attacks into the backline. I get off the ulti. I jump over to go for the Ziggs. I get the Ziggs, stasis, the Rammus damage, and Rammus goes down. Now I'm still on 1 HP. I actually get a triple kill. And here we ace the enemy team, and I'm pinging to end the game. right? Because here we can just end the game. We don't need to take the Baron. We can just end the game. So here, my team is going for the Baron for no good reason, and I'm just going to push in and try to end the game. Also, that lifesteal that you get from the Gluttonous Greaves as well as the Riftmaker basically puts me back up to full health. So my team picks up the Baron. I'm just going to continue on pushing. These are non-Baron minions, by the way. These are just normal minions. So here I'm just focusing the tower. And now I'm onto the base with 5 seconds left on the clock for the enemy team to respawn. Now thankfully my Zyra and my Set come here to help me finish off the game before the enemy team respawns and kills me for attempting to end the game myself. So anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.